Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Short intro. Today we're counting down and explaining the top 10 future weapons and systems being developed or fielded by China, Israel and Germany, technologies that could reshape how wars are fought over the next decade. I'll describe what they are, what they can do, why militaries want them, and the geopolitical questions they raise. China's progress in hypersonics has been a headline grabber. The DF-17 family, often described as a ballistic missile-boosted glide vehicle system, represents a new class of strike weapons that combine extremely high speeds with unpredictable glide trajectories. That combination complicates traditional missile defense intercept solutions because the vehicle can maneuver at very high altitudes and velocities. For planners, this matters because hypersonic delivery shortens decision time, increases the risk of miscalculation, and pressures adversaries to invest in early warning, hardening and new intercept technologies. The DF-17 concept ties into China's broader push to modernize strike forces across land, sea and air, long-range, precise, and survivable. The strategic effect is not just destructive capability but coercive deterrence, the ability to hold distant, high-value targets at risk in ways that complicate an opponent's calculus. China's anti-ship and area denial toolkit is another game-changer. Systems like the DF-21D family and associated modern anti-ship ballistic missiles, together with long-range cruise missiles and swarming unmanned systems, create a layered threat to surface fleets. The DF-21D was designed to threaten carrier strike groups at long range and force adversaries to change force posture, dispersal tactics and escort doctrines. Paired with sophisticated over-the-horizon targeting from satellites, drones and maritime surveillance, these weapons turn large sea spaces into contested zones. For navies, this sparks investments in ballistic missile defenses, distributed lethality, and more stealthy or dispersed logistics, the sort of cat-and-mouse dynamics that drive innovation but also raise the stakes in a crisis involving large naval forces. China's push into autonomous swarm systems, from aerial drones to unmanned surface and subsurface vessels, could alter operational tempo and the character of frontline combat. Small, low-cost drones operating en masse can overwhelm point defenses, saturate sensors, and create complex decision problems for defenders. When combined with artificial intelligence for target assignment and coordination, swarms can operate semi-autonomously to probe defenses, conduct surveillance, or execute concentrated attacks against high-value units. This does not mean swarms replace conventional forces, rather, they provide asymmetric levers for area denial, persistent surveillance, and attrition warfare. The ethical and legal dimensions are significant. Autonomy in targeting invites debate about human control, rules of engagement, and accountability during fast-moving engagements. Israel's leading-edge air and missile defense efforts continue to push boundaries, and one notable program is its high-altitude exo-atmospheric interceptor families designed to shoot down ballistic threats during mid-course or high-altitude flight. These systems are designed for speed, altitude reach and cueing integration with satellite and radar networks. Where traditional interceptors operate in the terminal phase, exo-atmospheric interceptors aim earlier, which can expand defended footprints and reduce collateral risk. The operational value is clear for states facing ballistic missile threats. Layered defenses increase resilience and complicate an attacker's planning. But layered defenses also drive attackers to develop countermeasures, decoys, hypersonics, and saturation attacks, which in turn drive further defense innovation. That spiral shapes procurement and alliance cooperation on sensors and joint integrative architecture. Israel's development of directed energy and high-power laser systems for short-range air defense is another forward-leaning area. Lasers promise a low-cost per-shot defensive option against rockets, mortar rounds, drones and even some missiles, provided technical issues like power supply, thermal management and atmospheric propagation are handled. The attraction is operational economy. Where interceptors are expensive and limited in number, a laser system backed by sufficient electrical power can engage many targets with minimal per-engagement cost. Practically, this means integrating lasers into forward bases, ships, and critical infrastructure to handle the low to medium threat layer, freeing kinetic interceptors for higher-end threats. However, lasers have limits, weather dependency, line-of-sight constraints, and energy requirements, so they're best considered a complement to, not a replacement for, kinetic systems. Israel has also been at the forefront of long-endurance loitering munitions and autonomous strike drones, systems that can surveil an area for hours and then strike a chosen target with precision. These loitering munitions blur the line between missile and drone. They act as both sensor and shooter. For modern campaigns, that means persistent, on-demand strike capability against fleeting or mobile targets without necessarily risking manned aircraft. Strategically, loitering munitions are a force multiplier for small militaries because they offer scalable precision strike, reduce the need for large sortie rates, and complicate enemy rear area operations. They also raise questions about escalation control and collateral damage in dense environments, which is why their rules of employment and integration into command chains matter as much as their technical performance. Turning to Germany, its role in European defense innovation is both national and collaborative. A major program to watch is the Multinational Future Combat Air System (FCAS) initiative, the next-generation air combat system led by France and Germany, with Spain pairing a new stealthy fighter type, system of systems, with swarming unmanned wingmen, open software architectures, and advanced sensors fused across platforms. The ambition is to create an adaptive, networked force where a manned platform commands numerous unmanned assets, extending reach and survivability. For Germany, FCAS and related projects represent a step change from platform-centric procurement to capability-centric thinking, interoperability, reinvention of air combat tactics, and the software-defined aircraft. The implications for air power are profound: more distributed sensing and lethality, but also new vulnerabilities in software supply chains and secure networked connectivity. Germany's ground combat innovation is visible in next-generation tracked and wheeled vehicles like the evolved IFVs and robotic combat vehicles being fielded or prototyped by Rheinmetall and others. Platforms such as the Lynx IFV and accompanying autonomous variants aim to combine modular protection, active protection systems, and digital command and control. The trend is toward modular platforms that can be rapidly fitted with different mission kits, active defenses to defeat incoming threats at short range, and integrated sensor suites that turn vehicles into mobile nodes in a broader battlefield cloud. For European land forces, this means greater tactical flexibility and survivability, but it also means investments in logistics, cyber hardening, and rules for autonomous or remotely operated weapon stations. Germany and partners are also advancing long-range standoff strike options, such as improved cruise missiles and precision-guided munitions that can be launched from air or sea to hold distant targets at risk. Systems like the Taurus KEPD 350 and successors offer extended range, high-precision strike without exposing manned platforms to close-range air defenses. In the era of contested airspace, standoff weapons allow forces to impose costs from safer distances and shape the battlespace before sending in higher-risk assets. Politically, this capability is sensitive because long-range strike extends reach and can alter regional deterrence balances, so export controls, alliances, and doctrine influence how and whether these weapons are employed. Across all three countries, one cross-cutting theme stands out: the fusion of sensors, software, and effects. Whether it's China's integrated ISR to strike chains, Israel's layered defense networks, or Germany's software-driven combat systems, the future battlefield is increasingly about data, connectivity, and decision speed. Artificial intelligence for target recognition, automated command and control loops, and resilient communications will be as decisive as propulsion or armor. The upside is dramatically improved situational awareness and faster response. The downside is new vulnerability to cyber attack, electronic warfare, and supply chain interference. Militaries are therefore investing as much in hardened communications, secure software practices, and redundancy as they are in individual weapon performance. Another shared element is the emphasis on countermeasures and countermeasures. As hypersonic weapons press the need for new interceptors, directed energy systems and autonomous swarms press the need for hardened sensors and new doctrine. Every novel capability invites tailored defenses, and then novel offensive adaptations in turn. This dynamic creates both technological momentum and strategic instability because each side's attempt to close a gap can have cascading effects on crisis stability, escalation ladders, and arms control prospects. That's why many observers call for clearer norms, better transparency, and confidence-building measures around novel classes of weapons even as states continue to innovate. It's also important to consider export and proliferation dynamics. Germany and Israel both have robust defense industries with extensive export relationships. China's growing defense exports are reshaping markets in Asia, Africa and the Middle East. When advanced systems proliferate, regional power balances can change quickly, and states with access to sophisticated defenses or strike systems can recalibrate their strategic behavior. Consequently, how these weapons are exported, under what conditions, and with what safeguards will influence global security architecture. Arms control measures, export licensing regimes and multinational partnerships will matter more than ever in shaping outcomes. Finally, there are ethical, legal and human considerations. Autonomous systems, loitering munitions, swarming behaviors and AI-enabled targeting challenge traditional concepts of human control and accountability. Decisions about where to place humans in the loop, how to judge proportionality and discrimination in complex environments, and how to maintain civilian protections will be essential. The technical promise of faster, more precise systems must be balanced against legal obligations and moral concerns. Otherwise, operational gains risk creating political backlash or unintended humanitarian harm. Stakeholders from engineers to policymakers need to engage these questions proactively as the technologies move from lab to battlefield. So, to sum up, the next decade will see a mix of hypersonics, autonomous swarms, directed energy, advanced interceptors, networked airborne systems and modular ground platforms, each developed with particular strategic aims by China, Israel and Germany. These capabilities will reshape deterrence, operational planning and escalation dynamics while raising hard questions about control, ethics and stability. Whether these systems make conflict less likely by strengthening deterrence, or more dangerous by shortening decision times and increasing misperception risk, depends on doctrine, transparency and the choices leaders make. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe for more breakdowns like this, and drop any questions or systems you want me to cover next in the comments.